My name is Andy Dotson. I'm the Fire Prevention Coordinator at the Morgantown Fire Department. Fire Safety with Andy is just the generic term I came up with for this little class. I've been a volunteer firefighter for 5 years. I worked as a firefighter paramedic for the city of Bridgeport for a couple of years. I've been with the city of Morgantown for 12. Of those 12 years, I've been 6 years as the public education coordinator, so you guys got stuck with me today. Altogether, I've been doing this for about 17, 18 years. Everybody has an index card. I like to always start with an activity to get everybody drawn in. If you would take your index cards. The first line of your index card, right between the number 1 and 10. What you feel, how important is fire safety to you? With 10 being the most, 1 being the least. Then drop down a line or two. Then rate yourself between 1 and 10. How prepared are you for a fire in your home? And then write down 5 loved ones in your lives. Read those 5 names to yourselves, or 5 activities, whatever you chose. If you are not practicing fire safety every second of your life, you will never see any of them people again. That's how important fire safety is. One mistake, we'll see none of them again. And it seems kind of a little bit rude, but it's impactful, because I guarantee every one of us had that sinking pit in our stomachs when I put you in that scenario. You'll never see them again. I'll share a little video with you here, and this will just further, hopefully, if everything is still up. This is done by the National Institute of Standards and Technologies. It's basically a controlled experiment. There will be live timer rolling at the bottom. I'll talk our way through. There'll be 2 video segments. And as we're thinking about our numbers that we chose and our 5 loved ones, we now project this into our homes. No, none of us have dry pine trees in the living room. But if you did.
We used to.
Yeah, a lot of people used to. That's real time. No accelerants were added. It's a 10 foot by 10 foot by 10 foot room. The size of a standard bedroom. "25 seconds. If you are still in that room, you're not coming out." Now, again, that's a shock video. Nobody has dry pine trees anymore. We used to have them all the time because we'd forget to water them during the holiday season, and but we've all seen them when we threw them on the brush pile and lit them off. That's what it looks like. So in as little as 25 seconds, we would maybe not be able to make another decision. Now this is more like what I'm sure is in all of our rooms, our studies, maybe wherever we watch television, our leisure areas. It's a couple couches. We're simulating, say, maybe a cigarette being dropped onto the couch. Again, real time at the bottom. No accelerants are added. One of the interesting things about this is your smoke alarm just activated at 20 seconds. The fire actually has a small head start on you because it has to create enough byproducts for the smoke alarm to smell it or find it to alert you. So the fire already has 20 seconds on you at your earliest notification. We can see now, we'll start seeing a little bit of black smoke rising up above the top of the flames. One of the interesting things about smoke is actually unburnt fuel. The deeper, the darker the smoke, the more fuel that is in there that is still waiting to reach a temperature high enough to combust. So the more smoke, the more fuel load there is in that vessel. We really see it's starting to reach up. It's going to start banking back down. We're a minute after our smoke alarm was activated. That's the conditions in our living room. If you're like me, by the time I hear it, get up, throw my slippers on, walk across the house, the fire's already there on you. Fire always works out and up. Fire can double in size anywhere from 15 to 45 seconds, just depending on the fuel load, depending on the oxygen, depending on all the conditions in the environment. A minute and a half after our smoke alarm is activated, the temperatures at the ceiling are over 300 degrees. The temperature on the floor right now, the farthest part away, with the radiant heat are over 150 degrees. The human body begins to break down to 147 degrees. If we are still in that room, we are being burned alive. In a minute and a half to 2 minutes after our smoke alarm is activated. We see all this dense, dark smoke. Temperatures are going to keep rising. They're going to get to a point that all the temperatures within the whole vessel are going to equalize, and the smoke is going to begin to burn. It's a condition that we call in the fire service a flashover. It's basically where everything is heated to a point that everything is on fire. Two minutes and 30 seconds after our smoke alarm is activated. Those are the conditions in your living room. If you are still in that room right now, you're probably not coming out. 3-ish minutes. You see the flames start working across. Now the smoke is going to begin to burn. 12 to 1400 degrees Fahrenheit in 3.5 minutes. That is what we call the flashover. That's where everything, even the smoke, is burning. Everything is burning right now. 3.5 minutes. 1400 degrees Fahrenheit. Me and all of my $10,000 worth of safety equipment. Flashover conditions, I'm going to last maybe 15 to 20 seconds. My stuff will be compromised, my mask will be compromised, I'll be done. So us in our street clothes, we stand zero chance. If I stand no chance in thousands of dollars worth of safety equipment. So that's why we have to know that we need to get out. 2015, there's statistics taken from the NFPA. 3,200, actually I believe the exact number is 3,280 people died in 2015 in this country in house fires. 15,000 injuries. In the few minutes I've been here just sharing with you guys, there's probably been, what, close to 8 houses torched off in the United States. There's a house fire every 84 seconds. To really know what you're trying to protect yourself from, you kind of have to really know what fire is. And fire is actually a combination of these 4 things. You have to have a heat source, you have to have fuel, you have to have oxygen, and you have to have a sustained chemical reaction. If at any time any of those things go away, fire goes away. We in the service, because water is a very readily accessible resource, we use water to combat the heat part of fires. We're actually cooling the fires down when we're fighting fires with water. We are number 2 in the country per capita fire fatalities in the United States and in West Virginia. Many times we always hear when I talk about fire safety and trying to get people vested in fire safety, oh, it's never going to happen to me. It does happen to us. There were 3 fires within 50 square miles of here yesterday. So it happens to us all the time. We think it'll never happen to us. That's when we get complacent. Complacency is the most dangerous thing in fire safety. Oh, it'll never happen to me. But if it does, you got to be prepared. I showed you a video and you have about 2 to 3 minutes to get out of a house once you hear a smoke alarm activate. 1 in 3 Americans think they have 6 minutes. I will tell you now that I'm sorry, because obviously we are doing a terrible job in the fire service telling people fire is bad if people think they have 6 minutes to get out of the house. The 5 leading causes of fires in the home: cooking, intentionally set, heating, electrical, and open flame. Kitchen fires are the number 1 cause of fires in the United States. Some of the common causes of kitchen fires: leaving food unattended, lighting the wrong burner, don't store anything on or in the stove. We went to a fire 2 years ago in this city. A gentleman lived in an assisted living place, did not cook for himself, but he still had a stove hooked up in his apartment. He stored his newspapers that he was done reading on top of his stove. He used a walker. He was in the kitchen, turned around. When he turned around, his backside turned on the oven, started a fire. Luckily, there was so much newspapers, the fire never got a chance to get going. It kept smoldering, 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 or we would have had a heck of a time. Leaving stuff in the oven while we preheat. You will all laugh, and I always tell a story, and if I'm lying, may I be struck this second. We go to 2 fires a year, the college kids, tomorrow's future, want their pizza after they've been out participating in extracurricular activities, and they don't take it out of the pizza box before they turn the oven on. And that's the goodness honest truth. 2 fires a year. A couple safety tips you can use while you're in the cooking or in the kitchen. And many of us have kids, and many of us have grandkids. Where are the grandkids when you're in the kitchen? Right there. On top of you, no matter where you're at. Following you around everywhere. So a good practice is to keep a 3 to 4 foot safety zone around the stove. It only takes about half of a second for a little kid to reach his hand up and turn that burner on. Or even pull a pot of something down on themselves. So if we keep that zone, they can be in the kitchen with you. Just be sure you got an eagle eye on them so that we can not give them that opportunity. Make sure we have good house cleaning. You have to clean your stovetop every time you use it. Take the minute, take the 20 seconds, wipe it off. Pot handle's always turned in your 3 to 4 foot safety zone. What would I do if something were to catch on fire in a microwave? What would you guys do? What would you do? Always keep calm. Always call 911 to be sure your emergency services are started. If you can safely get there, just unplug it. It de-energizes the unit. What would we do if something caught on fire in the oven? What would you do if something's on fire in the oven?
Leave the door closed, but
Door closed. Keep calm. Call 911.
Probably turn the oven off.
Turn the oven off. That's exactly it. Stay calm. Keep it closed. Call 911. An oven and a microwave are designed to hold heat in to prepare our food. Our food is not enough fuel to burn hot enough, long enough to compromise the vessel you're cooking in. Does that follow what I'm trying to say? It's going to go out. De-energize it. Walk away, call 911. By the time I get there, it's going to be out. Because it can't burn hot enough to get through the microwave. It can't burn hot enough to get through the oven. It'll smother itself of oxygen, and it'll go out. And what we do if we catch something on fire, we have a grease fire on the stovetop. What would we do? The old school thought process, I hear a lot of people, actually when I taught earlier today, somebody said salt, somebody said flour, somebody said baking soda. The problem with that, if this is my cooking vessel, and my oil level is right here, and I catch my grease on fire, I'm a little excited, I'm a little scared, and I grab the flour, and it's a 5-pound bag of flour. Where is all this oil going to go?
splash out.
Up and out and over. The oil's not burning, the vapor space on top of the oil is burning. So everywhere the oil goes, everywhere the vapor is going to be on fire. So the best way that we could treat something like this, what we're teaching now, is to just put a lid on it. Make sure you have your appropriate lid. De-energize the source. Put a lid on it. So you can use a baking tray. Everybody's got a cookie sheet. Same thing. When we're putting it on, though, we want to make sure we don't come straight from the top. So if we come straight from the top down, when the flames hit that cookie sheet, they're going to spread out and sprawl out 360. So if my hands are there, flames are going to hit my fingers. If I'm close here, it could hit my shirt. But if you take that lid and you angle it away from you, I'm deflecting the fire away from me. I lay it on the closest side and I let go, gravity takes care of the rest. Then once you get it on there, you can get your tongs or whatever and straighten it up. The one thing we never do is do what?
Put water.
Put water on a grease fire. That's the worst thing you could ever do. The reason for that is water and oil don't like one another. Water expands into vapor very rapidly. The vapor expansion ratio is actually 1,700 to 1. 1 cup of water becomes 1,700 cups of steam in full conversion. As that water is converting into steam, what is it carrying on the surface of the water molecules? Burning oil. Because it won't mix. So you have basically a fire explosion. How many of you guys, right now, if we were to go to your house, have something plugged into an extension cord, right now? Most of us do. Many of us live in old houses and there just aren't receptacles where they need to be in the old houses. So sometimes you got to ad-lib a little. Make sure you're inspecting your extension cords. Inch by inch, inspect them. It only takes the smallest compromise in the insulation around the wires or in the rubber jacket that you could end up, basically what you're ending up with is this tiny little arc welder. Because as electricity flows, electricity is lazy. It always follows the quickest path to ground. It wants to go home, it wants to go to the ground. So if I have a compromise between some wires, it is going to shoot an arc of electricity from one wire to the other, just like an arc welder does. So if you see a cord that has a pinch in it, you see a cord that has a tear in it, anything, that cord needs to be taken out of service. Because we don't know what damage is done to the insulation. Make sure we're using GFCIs in the bathrooms. Anywhere there's water, make sure you have a GFCI. That's actually current code, but some of us live in old houses. I'm pretty sure by my slop sink there is not a GFCI. Telling on myself a little bit there, but try to get qualified electricians to do your electrical work at home. If you do your own work, like I do, because I'm cheap, I'd make sure I call my buddy, like, hey, come check this out. Be sure I'm doing this right. Extension cords are not a permanent fix to a permanent problem. It is a temporary fix to a temporary problem. Meaning it should not be plugged in for more than like 8 hours. We never plug any appliances into an extension cord. Draws too much juice and it'll heat up. If you do have a problem where you don't have enough outlets, make sure you get surge protection. Power strips. The way surge protectors work, there's a little toggle switch in there. If too much juice comes in, it will turn itself off before it gets to the rest. So if I have either too many things running and I'm drawing too much through, or lightning strike, or a surge in the grid, that way you're not frying all your delicate electrical components. You got your computers plugged into one, and if it's not on a power strip that's surge protected and you get struck by lightning, you're going to spend a couple $1,000s buying new computers. You're just going to fry everything. So make sure it's insurance for your delicate stuff. You know, all of us probably have pictures of our grandkids and kids on computers. Not all of us probably back them up as much as we should. One lightning strike, all those memories are gone. So just take that little bit of time to be sure you are protecting your investments. Common cause of fires in living rooms, smoking, electrical equipment, extension cords again. Overloaded entertainment centers, electric. Overloaded computer centers, electric once again. If we're using the power strips that are UL rated, UL is the Underwriters Laboratory. They're the section that authorizes what is built, that it's built to what standards they say it's supposed to be. You guys live in old houses? Older houses? Got a cold drafty room? Yeah, I got about 2 or 3 in mine. Space heaters. Space heaters, just like our kitchen and our oven, 3 to 4 foot safety zone. Space heaters usually aren't the problem. It's the users that are the problem. Space heater is a simple machine. Off, on, thermostat. It's either calling for heat or not calling for heat, or it's off or it's on. It doesn't know if it's touching the bed. It doesn't know if it's touching the curtain. The user puts it in that situation to where it's making contact with the bedspread or making contact with the curtain. That's when we have problems. The space heaters themselves aren't the problems, the users. Most of your current space heaters have tip protection. I've got, one of mine. If you just nudge it, as much as walk by and just barely tap it, it'll kick it off. They're very, very delicate on those tamper switches. Make sure your chimney's been inspected, your heating system inspected by qualified people. Defective wiring is a very big cause in old homes. A lot of times just because you can't see them. The wiring is behind drywall, it's behind paneling. You never put your eyes on it. You can't tell if there's a bad crimp in it. You just assume everything is proper. If you're going to burn candles, be careful. If you're not in the room with it, extinguish it. Just be careful with it. That is an open flame. You basically have an out of control fire in your house anytime you have a candle going. The wind, a drape, anything that comes across it, it's going to do what fire does. It's going to grow. That statistic isn't fair. 5.4% of the fires that were started in 2015, over the 1.3 million fires there were, 5.4% of those fires were started by somebody recklessly smoking. Yet it killed 23% of that 3,280 people that died in 2015. So when people are recklessly smoking, they're killing more than themselves. The statistics don't lie. So if you know anybody that smokes, kids, grandkids, whatever, just tell them to be careful with it. You know, we always want to try to ask them to smoke outside, deep sturdy ashtrays. You know, keep our matches and lighters put up, locked up, secured. Put your cigarette out all the way every time. Never smoke in bed. You know, if you're tired, if you've had a few drinks, if you've taken your evening medications, don't smoke. If you do have matches and lighters, and the grandkids are in, put them up. The little ones don't understand consequences. They just see that as a really cool toy. A lot of the fire fatalities are started by kids under 5 years old. They don't understand the consequences. Most of the fires that those children between 1 and 5, they start in their bedrooms. Because they know they're not supposed to do it. They just haven't quite figured it out yet why. 2 years ago, southern part of the state, 2-year-old playing with a lighter. He knew he wasn't supposed to be doing it. He went into his room, into the corner of his bedroom, between his bed and the wall of a single wide trailer. Killed himself, a brother, a sister, a grandmother, and a mother. All passed from one potentially preventable thing. Put the matches and lighters up, problem solved. If we don't let the babies have those things, they can't hurt themselves with those things. I know we've covered a lot of things, but the next 2 minutes that I share with you, I want that to be what you remember most. 71% of Americans have a home fire escape plan. Only 46% of them people practice it. So rough, quick math, 35% of Americans practice their fire escape plan. So that means 65% of us have a plan that stinks. Because nothing is good if you don't practice it. You gotta know how to get out quickly. You gotta know 2 ways out of every room. Choose a meeting place outside, Make sure your house numbers can be seen from the road. If I'm responding in the dark and I can't see your house numbers and the fire is on the back half of the building, I might drive right by you and not even see it. Because I gotta see the numbers of the house. Make sure we have plans for special needs individuals. Anybody that uses a cane. My mother had bilateral knee replacement, lived with us for about 6 weeks. We had to have a militant fire exit plan in my house because I work 24-hour shifts. Somebody's got to help her when I'm not there. So we practice it like every other day, making sure somebody knew that she needed a hand to get out of the house. So we have to practice those things. Make sure everyone knows 911. We need to practice our escape plan. I'm going to ask all of you guys to make a decision, and you're all going to make the wrong decision. If your grandbabies are visiting, and you have a fire in your home, and you go out to your meeting place, we'll just call it the oak tree in the front yard, and your babies are not there, where are every single one of you going to go? Back into the house. 9 in 10 people that re-enter a burning structure once they've gotten out don't come back out. But if we practice the fire escape plan, they know where the meeting places are. We've eliminated that whole scenario. And it's terrible to think about, but I got one even worse for you. What if they went to the oak tree in the backyard, and you went to the oak tree in the front yard, and you went back in? That's how important. If anything, if I don't care if you take nothing from me being here, take that, please. You know, we spoke, you know, earlier, we were joking around, you know, fire safety, everybody thinks it's a joke, and it's never going to happen to me. It's never going to happen to me. But when it does, you better have your stuff together, because that one bad decision might be the last decision. That bottom statistic is absolutely unacceptable. 70% of the 3,280 people that died in 2015 died in a house that had no working smoke detector. A $10 smoke detector. And I'll share with all of you, you know, if you know people that are on tough times, give them my number. I will give them smoke detectors for free. We have partnerships with Lowe's and Energizer Battery. I have all this stuff in a locker at City Hall. It's not doing me any good sitting in a locker. So if you know somebody that needs help, let me know. Let me try to help them. And let you know, that one smoke detector may be the one that makes a difference. You know, they can call American Red Cross. There's a number you can call. American Red Cross will come visit your house in person, do a fire safety visit through your entire house, point out anything that maybe is a little bit off, and put up 4 10-year smoke detectors for free. All you have to do is ask for help. I help, you know, if we're in the city limits of Morgantown, I help. You know, I know the girls in the Red Cross, and it's a great program, but not everybody knows about it. Your smoke alarms need to be tested monthly. All you do is push in the little test button, it'll beep. If you push it in and it don't beep, you probably don't have a battery in it that's working. Any of you maybe have newer homes, you'll have hardwired systems. You can still check them. NFPA's recommendation is you have one inside and outside of every sleeping area in your house, and one on every floor. If the grandbabies are in visiting, they should be sleeping with the doors closed. If you have your doors open and there's a fire that starts in another part of the house, we know smoke goes up high. If there is maybe a problem with your detection system and the smoke alarm doesn't alert, that open door is just inviting smoke into the baby's rooms. If I have the door closed, it's going to take a little bit longer for that smoke to invade the baby's rooms and their breathing space. So we always want to sleep with our doors closed. None in the kitchen, garages, and your fireplaces, windows, doors, etc. If you have a hallway that has a bathroom in it and bedrooms, don't put it outside the bathroom. If you take long, hot, steamy showers, every time you open your door, you're going to set off your smoke detector. What happens is, after the 6th time I set it off, what am I probably going to do? That's annoying. You just took away one of your safety protection systems. Just, it's 2 screws. Just move it further down the hallway. It'll be fine. Change our batteries twice a year. The way we remember that is when you change your clock, change your batteries. If you have hardwired with battery backup, I think you're okay. Probably once a year you can change it. We want to try to vacuum around our detectors. There's usually slits in them, much like this, your HVAC system right there. Just take a head with like a soft bristle brush, just kind of pull some of that dust out. A lot of times you'll get false alarms because you have dirty heads. If your smoke alarm is older than 10 years old, it needs to be replaced. Modern technologies are better. I myself personally, the new ones with 10-year life batteries are nice, because then I don't have to change my batteries twice a year. As long as I test it every month, I know it's good. Once you break there's a little plastic seal in there. Once you break that, it triggers the clock in it, and it will make a different chirping sound when it's nearing its 10-year lifespan. Carbon monoxide, we're getting ready to get into the carbon monoxide time of year. Carbon monoxide is just a byproduct of incomplete combustion. Anything that burns creates carbon monoxide. It's odorless. You can't see it. You can't smell it. You never know it's there until it's too late. Now, carbon monoxide, it is smoke always rises. Carbon monoxide, for lack of a better term, has the same density as air. So you can have your carbon monoxide here, here, or here. Because as it dissipates through the room, it spreads evenly. It doesn't collect and then start banking down. So a lot of the carbon monoxide wants to just plug in the walls. It's totally fine. Just plug it in. Symptoms are headaches, upset stomachs. It's about time of the year because I'm sure some people have their furnaces running tonight. We're going to start running a lot of carbon monoxide alarms just because they didn't clean their furnace. From last year, they were so tired of cold. When it got 70 degrees, they turned it off and they never touched it again. And they're going to turn it on today. It's going to be full dust and all this other stuff, and we're going to be running carbon monoxide alarms for the next 3 weeks. Talk very briefly about fire extinguishers. There are 5 different classes of fire. The way I remember a type A fire, anything that leaves an ash, wood, paper, is an ordinary combustible. That's type A fire. Liquids boil, B, I remember B as a flammable liquids. C, electricity travels in a current. It's usually wired in a circuit. I remember C for an electrical fire. D is a difficult fire. Some metals, if they're on fire and they get sprayed with water, they will explode like magnesium. So there are some different. If you're not working in a metal fab shop, you're probably not going to have enough of that stuff to worry about. There's little components in all of our electronics, not enough to worry about. Big problem in the 70s, the Beetle Bug engine blocks are made of magnesium. It took the fire service a long time to figure out why every time we went to an engine fire, it was exploding on us. And then we figured out what it was. We changed our import rules, and they put cast blocks in it, and the problem went away. So it does happen. And then a class K is cooking oils and fats in a commercial setting. Right? Not us cooking on our stovetop. The 30-gallon deep fryers, in these hamburger joints and stuff. That's a K. Totally different suppression system. Most fire extinguishers that you'll ever need or that you probably have is an ABC. That's a dry chem fire extinguisher. It'll put out A, B, and C fires. I will tell you, if you have a lot of delicate electronics, don't put an ABC on it, because the products they use in there is like a sodium salt based, and it doesn't do very good on the delicate computer stuff. So technically you need a CO2 extinguisher if you have a lot of money tied up in your computers. Something that displaces the oxygen. But know that if you're in a tight quarter, displacing something or using an extinguisher that is displacing oxygen, you're also displacing the oxygen that you're breathing. So make sure you're keeping that in mind. If you ever choose to use a fire extinguisher, make sure somebody's calling 911. Do not take time to go call 911 yourself, then run back to the wood shop to use your extinguisher. By the time you get back, the extinguisher is not going to be any good to you. So, if you are by yourself and you can deploy the extinguisher immediately, go ahead. If you have to go call first, don't mess with it. You always want to keep an exit at our backside. They call it stratification. That's the reason different temperatures from the ceiling to the floor. That's why smoke always rises. Then it begins to bank down. If you put like a water into that environment, when the steam expands, it flips the entire atmosphere. So if I'm in this room and we have a lot of stuff that's going to create smoke in here, and the fire's in this corner and I pop it and I flip that atmosphere, and all the smoke that's up here goes to down here, how am I going to know which way to get out? And if I keep it at my backside, I walk backwards to safety. If the fire is burning so hot that you cannot even hit it with the extinguisher, you don't have enough to put out the BTUs, just go call 911 and let me get there. If any of us have asthma, any of us have any respiratory problems, probably not a good idea to use a dry chem fire extinguisher. You're putting millions of tiny little particulates in the air that you're going to breathe. So now your house is on fire and you're still having an asthma attack, so it got really bad. So you've got to keep those things in mind as well. Are there any questions about fire safety? Are there any questions about fire extinguishers? Now, if I asked you to flip over your card and redo my very first question of how important fire safety is to you, 1 to 10, how fire safe are you, 1 to 10, are you going to put the same numbers? How did we do? Were we pretty close? And if there are no other questions that you guys can think of, that's my cards. Feel free to call me anytime with any questions. If you have friends, family, church members on tough times and need them smokes, let me know. I'll see if I can't get them hooked up. If they're out of the city limits of Morgantown, I'll try to get them in touch with the Red Cross. Red Cross will come. If you're in the city limits of Morgantown, I will personally come to your house and do a fire safety visit in your house and put up smokes if I have them at my disposal. You know, we do that free of charge.
How long should you keep a fire extinguisher?
7 to 10 years old, get rid of it. The interesting thing about dry chem fire extinguishers, I know, most of them are set in an upright position the day you buy it. And other than moving it once in a while, cleaning out the bottom of the kitchen sink, it's still in that same upright position. So 7 years of gravity compacting those powders decreases your extinguishing capabilities because you have a big rock in the bottom of it. Like if anybody carries an extinguisher in their truck, I carry extinguishers in all of our vehicles. I take mine out about once every 2-3 weeks and just shake it a little bit just to make sure it's not, because you think about road vibration, it's really going to compact very quickly. So you see some of these, some of these service trucks with extinguisher on the side that's been there for 15 years, it ain't going to be worth a lick because it's a big deposit of calcium in the bottom of it. But yeah, 7 to 10 years, get rid of it. Any other questions? And then if the video draws some interest, I'll come back.
Okay.
You guys got my numbers. And if any of you belong to any other groups where, Rotary clubs, this and that clubs, any kind of clubs, I'll come make that presentation to anybody. The more people I can share fire safety with, the better I'm doing my job. So, if I can share and teach one person one thing every day I'm working, then I'm making it a safer place for us all. All right, guys. Have a great evening.
Thank you.